Hi, Katie from Module 10 discussion. First question is, what organizational knowledge is needed to best understand and communicate with various publics? How do we access the information and so on? So first, it's important to know who the organization's publics are, and to do that, the organization must determine who controls their resources. So the internal and external stakeholders, of course. And then research should be done to understand the publics. The text explains on, 421, 7 questions that should be answered. What is the organization's dependence on the public? What is the public's stake in the organization? Who shapes the opinions and makes decisions for the public? What are the demographics? So age, gender, income, education level, background, stuff like that. And then the psychographics, so what's their lifestyle, their political preferences, religious beliefs, that sort of thing. And then number 6 is, what is the public's opinion of the organization? And the last one is opinion of the issue under discussion. So these questions can be answered through various forms of research, including feedback that's made directly to the organization, Facebook comments that they see, customer satisfaction surveys, focus groups, statistical reports, stuff like that. And then once all those questions are answered, the organization will have a really good idea of how to evaluate the needs of the campaign, whatever it is that they're going for, whatever their goal is. Like if, let's say, the research reveals that the majority of their customer base that they're trying to reach is under 21, they probably shouldn't purchase a TV spot during Jeopardy. They should maybe look at focusing their advertisements more on social media. So I think answering all of those questions is going to really push the organization in the right direction for understanding those publics and then getting the right information out to them. Next question. What are the key similarities and differences between public relations and advertising marketing? So public relation deals with finding solutions to public-facing organizational problems, while advertising and marketing focuses on creation and innovation to increase customer base and sales. So, for example, public relations could focus on rectifying a wrong. Maybe a company did something and they need to improve their image, so they take out commercials to show the charitable goods that they're doing. I think Exxon did a whole ad campaign, and I think they still are, about, cleaning wildlife after they've had oil spills on them. So obviously Exxon has contributed to that negative problem, but they're trying to rectify that by doing charitable goods and showing everybody that they're doing these charitable goods. Good deeds, I should say. So there's a lot of similarities between the two. Both kind of focus on their publics and who needs to be reached and what they need to be told in the campaign. Both use research and data to determine the best way to convey those messages. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but the biggest difference is, one is more of a relational piece and one is more of a money piece, I guess. I personally haven't worked in public relations, but I have worked in market research. My very first job was for a radio station, and we would basically call listeners and we would play them snippets of songs that were like the top 40 songs on the radio. And we'd play them like 30 seconds of a song, and then we'd ask them 3 or 4 questions, same question after every part of a song, and get them to rate that song on these 3 questions between, a rating scale of like 1 to 5 or something like that. It was super archaic. We wrote down their answers on paper. We had like a Rolodex of phone numbers of the people we would call, and then they would refer us to other people. and we actually played the songs through a cassette tape that we like jacked into the phone, and then we'd actually had to hit play on the cassette and then pause. It's crazy. But yeah, we used that information. The manager used that information to compile data and statistics for the radio station, and it gave them a better idea of who their customers were or their listeners were and the kind of music they wanted to hear. So, I mean, even though it was super archaic and forever ago, it did its job. Now people, things like Pandora can just do that because they are able to analyze, who's clicking on what. So, big difference now. And then the last question is differentiating between legitimate information and propaganda. Propaganda, I think, to me is more of like the do as I say type information. There's no data to back it up. Status and power is used to force a belief on a group of people without any justification. Legitimate information, there's science behind it, there's thoughtfulness, some sort of fact to back up the data, and people are allowed to research and conduct their own research and make their own opinions on that data. Propaganda isn't necessarily ethical, otherwise they would be providing that information to back up their claims. And I think propaganda works because it's easier for people to blindly follow than it is to think for themselves and do research for themselves. If celebrity X says something is true, it must be true, right? Because they're a celebrity, and why would they lie to me? I think right now there's this huge group of people that really just want to hear from the people that they admire and will blindly follow them because they admire them so much. But then on the other hand, you have people who really want to hear both sides of the story and want proof, and they want to do their own research and be able to use that research to make their own judgments about a situation. And when legitimate information is being put forth, that's what they want people to do with that information, is to make their own judgments. So I think that's the biggest difference. That's all I got. I look forward to hearing your guys' topics this week.